Imagine having only one member of your team being awake for speed ladder. We had 3 members awake on our team. What are you talking about? So hello, Silver. Jakub coming in early with the potty mouth. Saucy boy, did you enjoy me beating you up in solo queue yesterday, Popgun? You have to be more specific. I played like 100 games of solo queue yesterday. Hello, please pet Moose for me. Say it's from Tiger, thanks. Moose has no idea who you are. And never will. He'll never know your face. Morning, Kipu. Good nooning. Old Kipu. Oh gosh. Sleepy Potato says, right back at you. Ganon is in the front yard. I don't know, is that a good or bad thing? Good morning, Booyah Squid number 7. Popcast, let's go. Yay. Yay. Nobody's more excited about Popcast episodes than me. So, Tiger, I'm impressed that you're awake at this hour. Don't you normally wake up like 5 hours from now? If I'm not mistaken. Carrot ears? They're bunny ears. What do you mean carrot ears? Carrots don't have ears? I guess there's like little carrot tips at the end, like the little green thing at the end of my ears, but these are bunny ears, dude. Have you ever heard of a thing called Easter? It's this thing called the Easter Bunny. It's like Santa, except like a furry version of Santa. Basically something that breaks into your house and leaves stuff. And everyone's just fine with it. Hello, gooey gas. As this I needed another reason to hate Ink Sync. You've oh, thank you. Thank you for complimenting my characters. Thank you, Sleepy Potato. Thank you so much. Bunny ears are attractive, but now that I'm wearing it, it's less desirable. Well, no one cares what you, teenager, think is attractive or not. So don't make it weird, weirdo. Ready for the team name roast? It's coming. Oh, he's just too irresistible. Well, I don't want to hear that either. Especially from you. It's a trap. Especially for someone who's old like him. I'm very good at reading, okay? I'm the best reader you've ever met. Nobody, you don't know anybody who's better at reading than I am. I promise you. Best reader in A. If there were plus servers for reading, I would need to be voted in. I would be vouched in by myself because I would have created the server. That's the route you want to take? That Joe Rat? That's how this is gonna go? Me celebrating Easter Sunday is gonna lead to that. Unfortunate. Oh, characters fell down. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you're celebrating the return of Major League Baseball, losing sets in Speed Ladder because your monthly Nintendo Online subscription ran out, paying $10 to force me to use V-Hydra in the IPL versus SAC grudge match, whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Speaking of the grudge match, I do want to point out, IPL played SAC for a charity event on April Fool's Day, but it wasn't a joke, even though some of the things that went on in that grudge match were a joke. It raised $1,075. So thank you for those of you who participated in the donations for that little side event there. That was just for fun. SAC, it was just for fun. You couldn't actually beat us in a real legit setting. You have to have people spend money to force us to do jank weapons the whole time. So don't get all uppity thinking you're better than us. We let them win because we wanted IPL. We wanted to make people feel good, and I'm sure SAC walked away from that feeling good about themselves, and that made us happy at IPL. I believe it was CG Dyna, who spent money to force me to play in the match in general. First off, I was ready to come in, but I assumed I wouldn't because there were so many people that we had for IPL, so I was like, I'm just going to look for a scrim with my team. Next thing you know, I get pinged, hey, Popgun, somebody bought you. You have to come in and play. It's like, all right. So I go in and I play, and the next thing I know, oh, hey, Popgun, somebody spent money and now you have to use V-Hydra. Oh, my Lord. The number, in case you guys are interested, because I know you are, the number of wins that I have all time with custom Hydra, which is the weapon I'm using pretty exclusively nowadays, doesn't mean it's the only thing I do. 1,922 wins with custom Hydra. The amount of wins I have with V-Hydra, 21. So there you go. If you want to see me use V-Hydra again, the starting price is $10 apparently. So, but still, once again, I'm glad that this event raised some money. It's a cool thing. IPL has now raised over $1,000 for charity. That's cool. That's a cool little thing to know. And I guess before we get into news, congratulations or happy Holy Week, or the end of Holy Week for those of you that celebrate things like Easter and Good Friday and all that good stuff. The rest of you that are going to hell, I hope you enjoyed just your normal week for you. Whatever that constitutes. I was surprised at the amount of people that played in events this weekend, considering the nature of what this weekend is. So there you go. However you enjoyed your week or weekend, congratulations. It's over. It's Monday. We're all suffering now, so it doesn't matter. News, tournaments coming up. Of note, first off, LSL is this Saturday. I believe this is the 12th LSL. Sign up for it. If you're a Gamma bracket team or a team that goes 2-4 or 3-3 in low ink, this is the tournament for you. This is a great opportunity for you to get some wins, get your name out there, get some recognition, and try to take down TNGP, Team Name Guys, please, who I think is going to win this tournament. I haven't looked and seen who has signed up for it yet, how many teams have signed up. I know last month a good chunk of teams did sign up that were from low ink, and it was one of the first times that LSL has had 20 some odd teams sign up for it recently. So if you are interested in that, just I don't have the link ready, but you could just type in Twitter, Little Squid League, and you're likely to find their Twitter feed, and you can go from there. Why is it not on Battlefy? They do have a tournament. Let me just double check this. So I don't see it on Battlefy. Announcements. Closing registration early on the 9th. Well, where's the registration link at? LSL 12. It is on Battlefy. It just wasn't showing up for me for some reason. 21 teams have already registered for this. You know what? This might be difficult to find, so I'll just go ahead and put this in chat right now. And if you're watching this on YouTube, why do you hate me? And why don't you watch me live? To punish you, if you want to register for Little Squid League, type that out line by line, because you can't copy and paste that. I'm not posting the link in the description below. It's your fault. How dare you? One thing I do want to point out, though. I was on a podcast called Moray Taverns recently, and ever since then I've been keeping up with the Moray Taverns. There's been a lot of teams, low-level teams, that have been on the Moray Tavern podcast recently. Inkcraft Cult had an episode. I Ride, which is not pronounced I Ride, it's pronounced E-Read. E-Read-duh, I believe, had an episode, and System of a Splashdown. So if you like what I do and you're interested in more content similar to what I do, arguably done at a better level, go check out the Moray Taverns podcast. Again, just go to Twitter, Moray Taverns. You'll find all the link to all the stuff that interests you in that. But no, I listen to all of those. It's good. It's good to hear other teams' perspectives on things like how they feel about Low Ink, how they feel about Little Squid League, how they feel about the competitive scene as a whole. You don't really get a good sense for all of that stuff just by looking at just Battlefy results like I do and things on Twitter. Hearing actual people have conversations about these kinds of tournaments from players that participate in them is a great perspective to have. So if you're interested in something like that, give it a check out, or don't. Today we will be recapping Minnow Cup and the Launch Point Draft Cup. Two tournaments that happened this past weekend, not in that order. I believe I'm going to go with Launch Point first and then Minnow Cup. Why? I don't know. I did this last night and I had a good reason, and now I'm awake, kind of, and I don't remember why specifically that order, but that's how it's listed right there, so we're going to go with it. But first, Speed Ladder happened this past weekend. This was the Ludi seeding tournament hosted by Inkcademy. You guys might know it more so as the tournament that I kind of griped about for existing to begin with, because it literally came in on a Saturday without announcing it to the other TOs that already had tournaments planned on Saturday. Just as a FYI going forward, if you are a TO and you're looking to host an event, whether it be you are creating a new tournament or it is a tournament that has already been in existence for a long time, you can have as many staff meetings as you want. You can set the date for your tournament. You can take registrations for your tournament. Keep in mind, somebody from a major tournament at any point can just step in and say, we're taking this date, there's nothing you can do about it, and if you don't change the date of your tournament to make room for ours, people on Twitter are going to roast you like people did for Minnow Cup when Triple G was announced. I'm not saying that this should change. I mean, it should change, but I'm not going to sit here and say that we should start a riot about this or anything like that. What I'm saying is that's the reality of the situation. No matter how much you think you can host your tournament because you've planned it out and you've started taking registration for it, at any point somebody can come in and just take over your entire day, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just wanted you to be aware of that. Minnow Cup had to move their tournament to a Good Friday. Midway had to push their entire season back an entire month because of this. But I digress. Speed Ladder happened. Speed Ladder is a good tournament. I love Speed Ladder formats. I think they're great. But why did we sign up, or why did you guys sign up for this tournament, and what did you get out of it? Why did you play in it? You played in it because you wanted to improve your stock for Ludi divs. Fair enough. The question, though, that I'm asking is, how many of you actually did improve your stock for Ludi? I looked at every single team, all 161 teams. It didn't take that long, I promise. It took like 5 to 10 minutes. It's not like I did a deep dive and dissected each and every single match that went on there. You just click on a team, you can see who they won and who they lost to, and you just move on. Easy as that. So I looked at that. Now, the question is, did anyone actually improve their standings, though? Did anybody show anything that they haven't already shown 100 times already? Well, I can't speak for a lot of the high end of the skill division teams, but for all the low-level teams that I keep an eye on, I'm curious. This is kind of like college basketball. How you can play for an entire season, and if you do good enough or you impress enough people, you get selected into the NCAA tournament, like 64 or 65 teams or something like that. This is kind of the same thing. This is very similar. Also, side note, NCAA uses this thing called RPI. I have no idea what RPI is. I'm pretty sure it's just something that somebody made up so they could sound smart. There's anything related to what I'm about to talk about. That's just something I want to gripe out loud. Does anyone know what RPI actually means who pays attention to college basketball? But the thing about college basketball is, if you are from a conference like the ACC, if you're North Carolina, typically you can go like 15-15 in the regular season, maybe 17-12 or something like that. You're going to make the NCAA tournament. If you're from some really small conference, like the Liberty Conference or the Cookies and Juice Conference or something like that, you can go like 25-2. But if you lose in your conference championship game, you're likely to not make the NCAA tournament. Why is that? Well, those 25 wins that one team got were against other teams that were at their skill level, which is considered to be pretty low, and they don't have any high quality wins. How does that translate to Ludi and Speed Ladder here? Well, if you're a low level team and you play exclusively in Low Ink, Ash Cup, Minnow Cup, Little Squid League, and you get a lot of wins in those tournaments, but you are only getting wins against other teams that are also just in those low skill cap tournaments, then yeah, you technically don't have, you might be better than all those teams, but are you truly a full division better than them if you don't have any quality wins outside of that? That is the question that we're going to be asking as Ludi Divs are going to be coming out. As I looked at the teams that played in the Speed Ladder here, nobody really got any wins that I saw that were crazy impressive. Yes, some teams beat other teams that are like other low-level teams beat other low-level teams, but again, that's just a typical Low Ink weekend. We didn't see anybody step up and beat somebody who they're quote-unquote not supposed to beat. Oblivion got a decent win 2-1 over Ryzen, but Oblivion, we haven't seen them in Low Ink recently. The reason for that is they've added a new player, I believe Cannon, who was from Splat or Swim, who won Low Ink. So if Oblivion wants to play in Low Ink again, they're going to have to do it without their full roster. So I think that's why they didn't participate in Low Ink recently. So a good win against Ryzen. Are they going to be given a div above other teams that are in Low Ink? I don't know. There's not a lot of data out there that would suggest that they should. Now, the best team, the team that had the best weekend of all 161 teams, surprisingly enough, was Thimbo IHOP Look at the list of teams that they beat. Oblivion, Twice, and Pure Divinity. That is a hell of a Saturday for Thimbo IHOP. You know, these speed ladder wins, you got to take them with a grain of salt. It's counter picks. The maps were atrocious because they used ranked maps from last month instead of actual human maps that every other tournament series is using right now. Port Mackerel zones. I can't believe this is a major tournament with Port Mackerel zones that can show up in it. It's also best of 3. Everything was best of 3, which is fine, but you can kind of cheese a best of 3 set in a way that you can't cheese a best of... Now, it has to be best of 3 speed ladder. You don't want these things dragging on for forever. But again, you want to take it with a grain of salt. But if you're Thimbo IHOP and you get 3 quality wins, 3 impressive quality wins, that's not a fluke. That is... if they had just beat Pure Divinity and they also lost to Oblivion and Twice, then it would... Okay, then they just got Pure Divinity on the right kind of set of maps. But no, beating all 3 of those teams, that justifies the win against Pure Divinity. So Thimbo IHOP, very nice weekend. If there's any team that truly transcended whatever div they were going to get and might get bumped up to something a little bit higher, it would have to be Thimbo IHOP, I feel like. Very impressive Saturday for them. Now, there are 2 teams that I noticed that are new-ish, that did really well here, and I wanted to point them out. First off is Presence, not presents like something you would open up on Easter that the bunny gave you, but present like you were like the presence of me being here on stream. That word. I know I sometimes screw up words. This team went 7-3. They beat Ink Sync, Evening Chickens, Frost Burn. This team is made up of Zuck, Ethereal, Ali, A-L-L-I, not Ali from the Crusaders, and Kona, I believe is how that is pronounced. So a newerish team, maybe a project, maybe a pickup, who knows. But if this is a Ludi team and they don't have any information on them yet because they are a new team, this is what this tournament was for. They came out, they got 7 wins, only 3 losses, and a lot of really good quality wins here. This is going that's what this tournament is for, to see where these new pickup project teams should be placed, and the a good weekend for them kind of shows. It is really good for them. Matter, M-A-T-R. It is pronounced Matter. I saw somebody ask that question on Twitter. This team is made up of Leo and Sakura, formerly of Xanadu. Omega, the one that is formerly of Splatter Swim and on Crack, and Silly, who is formerly of Midnights, I believe most recently of Midnights. This team went 5-4 with some impressive wins against Rising Matrix and Madhouse. Madhouse seems to be a new powerhouse team coming up from North America. Now, they did play Madhouse again and lost to them 2-0, but that doesn't erase the win they got from them earlier. So consider it a trade. But if you're trading with Madhouse and beating Rising Matrix, that's notable. So for Presence and Matter, these 2 new teams made up of players that are familiar to SAC, or that we're familiar with from SAC, had a good result here. And again, this is what Speed Ladder is actually for, to determine where these new kind of teams are. The teams that play in Low Ink consistently, and the teams that play in Minnow Cup, SAC consistently. I feel like the divs they are going to get have been determined for the past couple of months, unless they did something crazy. And outside of Thimbo IHOP, I feel like the rest of this tournament played by the script. Oh, this team beat that team. Okay, they did that last week in Minnow Cup. Oh, that team beat that team. Cool. They've done that 3 times already in low ink. Nothing here happened outside of script that I could see. Now, again, something on the high end of the divisions, like the higher level teams could have been some funky stuff there that I missed. The Salt and Pepper seemed to have a really good tournament. I didn't look specifically at who they beat, but they went 6-1 and finished somewhere really high up in the top 10. Outside of that, nothing super notable that I feel like would force anything to be changed from what Div teams have already been kind of given in the minds of people for the past couple of months. Where you finish in this tournament, did it really matter? Yes and no. Like, there was one team, Takedown, I believe, that finished 1-1. They finished in 104th place over basically 60 other teams. Why? I have no idea. I have no idea. They played 2 games, and they finished way above teams that got 5 wins. Like, there was a team that went 5-4 that they finished above. There's teams that played in way more than 2 matches that finished below them in their standing. So, like, all these people coming out and say, oh, we tied for 26th place. Yeah, but that doesn't mean, like, you were better than, like, every other team. That just placed you there. And I have no idea how it places teams anywhere, honestly. There seemed to be little to no rhyme or reason other than, Arctic Moon went undefeated there at the top. I feel like the top teams were legit, but I mean, like, you look at some of these other things and you're like, how is a team that only played 2 games finishing above 60 other teams? That makes zero sense. And the one win they got was against the team that didn't do really good at all either. So it's not like that was a one quality win. So I don't know. My point is, you can't just look at this and say, well, we finished in the top 26. That means we're Div 1. No. Don't automatically make that assumption. That is not true. I believe Ludi seeding staff will look at each match on a game-by-game basis. Again, 161 teams played in this tournament. The number of teams that have already signed up for Ludi as of right now goes all the way down to 202. And we still got a whole week left to go. So, don't automatically just assume your placement in Speed Ladder is going to place you automatically into a certain div. It's not. So, just as a preemptive warning to those of you who are looking at that. Oh, I tied for 26th place with 70 other teams. It's like, it's good, but it's not ground shakingly good. I think that's all I wanted to say about Speed Ladder. Again, I like Speed Ladder tournaments. I think they're a great format. Would have loved to play in it if one of our teammates didn't never wake up, but it is what it is. Personally, I felt like our div I feel like I know what div my team is going to get, and I don't think there's anything we can really do to change that other than just completely pop off and beat some teams that we haven't beaten in a while. So I'm not tripping that we missed it, because I feel like it would have been fun to play in it, but I don't think we would have done anything that would have swayed the minds of people to make us think that we should be bumped up into a div that we might not be ready for. It might not have a fun Ludi season, and I feel like our div is pretty much locked at this point, so I ain't tripping. My arrow is a little too big. Just wait till the other seeding tourney on Sunday. I don't think... Well, I mean, that's a Europe tournament. I don't think anybody from NA is going to play in that. That's 9 a.m. Eastern time for North America. For those of us on the East Coast here in North America, or ED time, I guess. Are we in ED or ES? So A good chunk of people aren't even going to play in that from North America, which is fine. It's totally fine. I mean, Europe kind of never really has a tournament that starts at a decent time for them, so good for them that they get a tournament like that. Launch Point Draft Cup. Now let's get this out of the way right now. The team names that they let you come up with and they let you guys get away with. Let's break them down. So here's what we're going to do. All of them were bad. On a scale of 1 being bad and 10 being badders, 1 is bad, 5 is badder, 10 is most baddest. This is where I think I can rank these kind of team names here. So let's take a look at them. First off, Lunch Point. I like that. That's fine. I like food. I give that a 1 out of 10. Lunch Point. I like that. Ka-Chow Crew. This is funny because Ka-Chow Crew actually tried to change their name to something else later, but then came out, Launch Point staff said it was too late. You are stuck with this name. So Ka-Chow Crew, the fact that they even recognized that was bad is hilarious. And it's also funny that they were stuck with it. They get a 5 out of 10. Flank Me Harder. I cannot believe my wife came up with this team name. I'm not going to comment on the phrase flank me harder. I feel like I'm already going to get canceled on Twitch just for saying that out loud. But regardless, that gets a 69 out of 10. Not EDT Squad. I just asked, is there a difference between EDT and EST? Well, this team seems to go with EDT. Now, I would assume that this is a group of players that played in Last Low Inc. and missed round 1 because they didn't realize the time change. There was a lot of teams that were really confused. A lot of European teams that were really confused because I don't think they had daylight savings yet, and we did. So some of the times got mixed up. So I think this not EDT Squad is making a reference to that. I give them a 0 out of 10. Brucket Cars. Not bucket cars, Brucket Cars. I have no idea what this means, and Google didn't help me out. And if Google doesn't help me out to understand the reference for your team names, it usually means it's a meme that is beyond my comprehension. I give it 11 out of 10. Chad. Et Ninjala +7. Is this still a game? Or do people still play Ninjala? Like, people were talking about it for like a month, and now nobody is talking about it at all. So I don't know if this game is still relevant or not. People seem to like it, but Et Ninjala +7, it gets a 3 out of 10. Pandilla Planto. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Pandilla Planto. I Googled this, and it led me to a YouTube video of some kids sitting at a booth in a restaurant talking into a microphone that lasted like 6 minutes and only had 128 views. I'm assuming they are not referencing that YouTube video, but since that's the only information I can find on what that is, which I think is just a banana or something like that, I give them 168 or 128 out of 10. Thick Thigh Warriors HD 2.8. What in the world? First off, Thick Thigh Warriors, you know my stance on anything thick thigh. But what does HD 2.8 mean? I don't know. I'm sure it's a reference to something significant. And once again, maybe I'm just too old to understand, but I don't need to see thick thighs in HD. Just standard definition gets the job done for me. I give them a 2 out of 10. The definition of insanity is not doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. The definition of insanity is literally you have a mental illness. which is something we should take seriously in this country, which we haven't done for basically the dawn of time. So the definition of insanity is, let's use this as a way to promote mental health. And I don't know what like mental health awareness month is. It should be every single month. Make sure you take care of yourselves mentally as well as physically. I give them a 1 out of 10. It's not bad. Just hold ZR. If only it were that easy. I give them a 5 out of 10. Now, the worst. The best worst team name in this entire tournament. Say it with me now. The Sturgeon Simp Yards. The Sturgeon Simp Yards. I believe the word simp was something that was banned from Twitch for like a week or so, and I think it's fine to say now. If this video is taken down from Twitch by the end of the day, then there you go. My apologies. I don't mean to offend anybody. But Sturgeon Simp Yard. That's one of the few ones here that actually made me kind of chuckle. 10 out of 10. Congratulations to you. Now, I had some people DM my wife asking me for suggestions for team names that she thought I would find funny. You morons are going out of your way to make stupid team names because you know I'm going to point it out. This is my fault. I'm enabling you guys. But I love it, so I'm going to keep encouraging it. Keep making stupid team names. They're all bad. None of them are ever good. And it's to the point now to where they're so bad that it's enjoyable by everybody. So congratulations to Sturgeon Simp Yard. It's so bad it's good. The tournament itself, though, really odd. They ended early. This tournament only lasted 4 hours instead of the 8 hours. So I don't know when the other 4 hours of this tournament is going to happen. Maybe it's next weekend. I don't know. But for some reason, it was groups to single elimination. That's not how draft cups are supposed to work. It's supposed to be just very small groups, like 3 teams, and then it's supposed to be, I think the standard is triple or quad elimination. In fact, I'm kind of surprised the tournament isn't still running right now. Like, we should be in about round 5 or 6 of the quadruple losers bracket. The losers bracket, if we're being legit here. But for whatever reason, they went with this crazy idea of groups into a single elim, and the tournament only lasted 4 hours because of it. 21 teams played in this tournament. Again, this was Easter Sunday, so this is a fantastic number of teams playing in this Sunday tournament. But 12 made top cut here. So that means everybody was guaranteed at least 2 games, because some of these groups only had 3 teams in it with a bye. Some groups had 4 teams in it. So it's I think All-Star had it right. All-Star went with the fatter groups, smaller single elim. The other tournaments like Midpoint and Launch Point are going with the smaller groups, fatter single or double elimination tournaments. Top cuts, I should say. I think All-Star gets it right. I think you want bigger groups so that everybody that signs up for your tournament has more opportunities to play games. Here, you could have played just 2 matches and that's it, which isn't really what you would want to sign up for. With draft tournaments, like one team might just be a better matchup for another team, but might just be a horrible matchup against another team, which is a good matchup against that other team. That's why All-Star was really great, because it didn't seem, other than the team that literally didn't drop a single game, everybody else was like it was basically just like Pokemon, rock, paper, scissors kind of format, to where this team beat that team beat this team, and then that team beat the other team that beat their team that beat them. So it was more, I feel like if more teams had an opportunity to play more teams, they would have got a chance to get some wins that would seem kind of odd, considering who those other teams beat. It's more wide open, but when you have groups that are limited and you only get to play 2 matches, you might not get that opportunity to get those kind of wins that make it more fun for everybody. So that's just something I wanted to point out. I feel like All-Star has it right. We're basically just 2 groups. Everyone's guaranteed at least 5 matches, and then the top 2 teams move on to a single elimination top cut, and you just have 2 matches for top cut. Gets the job done. And I feel, I wanted to point that out. Now, All-Star is more, you're in both tournaments, you're playing for something. All-Star is more for just like a celebration of the All-Star or of SAC in general, which I guess Launch Point Draft Cup is as well. But I feel like Launch Point is more competitive, if that makes sense, just because there's something more on the line other than just here's all the top players from the top teams this SAC season kind of thing. Group B and C seemed competitive, kind of like I was talking about. 2 teams went 2-1, the other teams went 1-2. So there's your kind of counter matchups that you kind of see there. Every other group, I believe, went as scripted. So there you go. If you're looking at, it's hard to just talk about specific teams like I normally do, but if you were to look at some specific players who kind of popped off on stream, I saw Adept from Clownfish went ham on Glugas. There were a lot of Gluga players that were on stream, especially in the early rounds. This was Adept from Clownfish played for Just Hold ZR. Jennifer from Enigma had some clutch kills with K-Pro as well. I believe they were also on Just Hold ZR. I saw Julian from Resistance with Tri-Slosher playing for Ninjala. They seem to be doing really well. Asa on Charger for this team called Hand Sanitizer. They most recently played on Ink Eye, but they didn't use the Ink Eye tag in this tournament, so I don't know if they're still on it or not. But still, it's nice to see. You don't see a lot of Chargers play in low-level tournaments. I feel like people are always arguing Chargers cracked or Chargers horrible. I think the issue is that Charger is now at a point to where if you haven't been playing Charger from day one, it's really hard to be good at it. I feel like you have to be. I feel like you need to put a ton of hours in Charger to be able to play it at a high level, and I think that's why we don't see a ton of Chargers at low level, or at least Chargers at low level that are actually decent and can hit their shots. So when I see a Charger like Asa actually hit their shots for Hand Sanitizer, it's something I want to point out. Drago from Synergy. Calm down, dude. It's just a Draft Cup tournament. Looked really cracked on K-Machine for the team called Definition of Insanity. My goodness. Reign of 3 a.m. I saw them top fragging with Hydra for Kachow Crew. The team that didn't want to be called Kachow Crew, I guess. So, as a Hydra player myself, always nice to see fellow Hydras pop off. Hey, make sure you keep an eye out for Fairy's Hydra Guide if you want to take your game to the next level. Jakub of Vaporwave was using Octobrush for Some Hope, the team that finished in second place. I thought that was kind of notable. Vanilla Octobrush at that, and got some wins with that sucker. You don't always see Octobrush being played, which is fine. You can use whatever team you want to, you can use whatever weapon you want to use across any level. Again, I've said this before, it's as long as the rest of your team buys into the mentality, as long as your team has an identity or like a philosophy game plan that you want to go with, whatever weapons you use is fine as long as everybody's on board with how that weapon works and how everybody else can play around that weapon. So nice to see Vanilla Octobrush being used. The winning team, Flank Me Harder. This was my wife's team, notable because first tournament win for Miss Popgun, who is of Tooniverse. Other players that were on this team, Raven or Red from Cephadonts, who is coached by the one and only Wug, the Wugster themselves. The Raven or Red had some crazy bubble plays with K Jr. Also used Hydra in Pro, so all over the place there for them. Nova of 3 a.m. Again, I think I'm going to be talking more about 3 a.m. when it comes to this Minnow Cup. Maybe that's why I'm talking about Launch Point first. I don't know. But Nova played really well from the Slayer role, specifically with the Nautilus, the Inkjet Nautilus. And this last player, I don't think I can pronounce their name correctly. Maybe someone in chat can type it out. But there's the Inkbrush player that is not on a team, that I believe has never played competitively before, and uses sticks. We had a stick player win a tournament in Launch Point. Hey, I got to X rank using sticks. And I had the mindset of, I'm going to be the best stick player ever. Plicklice, I believe is how that is pronounced. Plicklice. I wrote that down, and I was like, there's no way my handwriting is actually correct to that. But a very good stick player. Very impressive. Now, I was a stick player. And Hydra is decently... You can use Hydra pretty decently well with sticks. But then I realized, oh, if I switch to motion control, I'm going to be infinitely better. Now, switching from sticks to motion is difficult. Like I would play one game of Turf War and almost vomit just because just how the screen moved. So like to get used to motion, I would slowly build up a tolerance. I would play one game of Turf War a day, then build up to 2 and build up to 3. But hey, stick players, and it's weird. You can notice when you can really tell by watching somebody's Twitter clip and be like, oh, this person's on sticks. That looks really weird. But hey, stick player wins tournament. And a lot of you who are probably watching this, you probably got killed by Plicklice. You got beat up by a stick player, bro. Take that. Nice to see. But if you want to continue this competitive thing, I would recommend switching to motion at some point. It'll be infinitely better. I think that's all I wanted to say about the Launch Point tournament. I'm glad that it came back. It's been a while since we've had the last Draft Cup. Hopefully we can see more Draft Cups coming up in the future. And I believe there's a keychain that is going to be sent here to the Popgun Estates. Another trophy to add to our family collection of tournament results. Stick control gang, where you at? Sauce boy, you a stick player too? I feel like you can do Charger with sticks. Maybe. What's the best stick weapon? Maybe Inkbrush might be a good stick weapon, actually. Maybe... Yeah, maybe Slosher. Well, I don't know. Maybe not Slosher. I don't know. What's the best weapon to use for sticks? I'm going to have to figure that out. Sploosh? It's Clash, yeah. I think it is Clash Blaster, actually. Not saying Sticks Clash is better than Motion Clash, but yeah, I think an area of effect weapon where aim, you can still get kills with having crappy aim. I feel like Clash Blaster is the correct answer. Congratulations, Splatver. You win 20 points. Nice work. Let's close this out. The special Easter edition Carrot Ears episode, as you guys call it, with the Minnow Cup tournament. Again, this happened on Friday. Happened on Good Friday at the usual time. And I was surprised, and I think Minnow Cup staff was as well, as how many teams signed up for this tournament given the awkward time that it happened. The grand total of participants here, it says 36 teams. I believe 5 dropped over the course of the tournament, but at least 36 got this tournament off and rolling. So that's a healthy number. It has Minnow Cup had more teams sign up for it in the past? Yes. If Minnow Cup had actually happened on the normal Saturday, like it would it have more teams? 100%. Yeah. It would have way more teams than 36. But still, I think Minnow Cup staff was happy that this tournament happened at all and that a good chunk of teams were able to sign up and participate into it. It sucks because this is the second time Minnow Cup has had to change their tournament, and it's LSL's, bless LSL, they've had to change their tournament date like 5 or 6 times last year alone. So if these two tournaments can finally get some stability, it's really going to help them grow. But still, sometimes just getting the tournament in is more important than finding the perfect date for it. So 36 teams, good chunk of teams that played in this. It was tower control only. I guess this is season 2 of the Minnow Cup, because this is the second time we've seen tower control now, which would mean that Clam Blitz is next. And spawning from the Minnow Cup is now the new Megalodon Cup, which is going to be this upcoming Saturday. Basically, it's the same format as Minnow Cup, except it's an open invite tournament. That's right, BNS is basically coming back. A tournament, a single mode only tournament. Swiss format. It basically is BNS, except it's just on a Saturday instead of a Friday night. So those of you who remember the old days, Minnow Cup or Megalodon Cup is basically going to be the same tournament going forward. It's double elimination and not Swiss with counter picks. Why is it a different format? I guess, that's not my tournament. Who cares? Access Denied came back for this. Is a team that I noticed there. Hey, I thought those guys disbanded. Well, I mean, Dream Knight's disbanded for a week and then Ludi gets announced and they come back. So maybe that's the case as to why Access Denied has come back as well. But regardless, it was cool to see them back in this tournament. We had another tiebreaker fiasco, though. Last week, I told you guys about a team that finished in 24th and 25th place in Low Inc. And I said their opponent win percentage was tied, personal win percentage was tied, and Battlefy decided who was going to be the rightful team to move on to Sunday and who wasn't based off of the seed of that. I said that would never happen again because the odds of that happening again are so significantly slim. Not only that you are tied completely, but it's for the difference between making top cut and not making top cut. The odds of all those things lining up, so slim to none. It happened again 1 week later. Here we are, the 16 and 17 seed. Mission Instinct and Garfield Plush. Same final standings now, or same opponent win percentage and same personal win percentage. Again, I pointed out opponent win percentage is the best tiebreaker for the first one. Personal should be the second one. And I'm just going to make a quick, I should have checked this earlier just to make sure that these two teams didn't play against each other, because if they played against each other heads up, that would be an awesome tiebreaker, more natural tiebreaker. But Mission Instinct looks like unless they played them in round 1 here. No, they did not play against each other. But the seed that Battlefy gave out for Mission Instinct is number 4. They were not the number 4 team in this tournament. For Garfield Plush, they were, I'm assuming they're, what seed were they? They were number 30. Now again, one thing I want to point out, if you just looked at the standings after round 6, like after each round it shows the standings at the bottom. If you do that, it shows Garfield Plush as the number 16 seed and Mission Instinct is number 17. But if you click on the actual standings button that breaks down everything from the tiebreaker perspective. Mission Instinct's number 16 and Garfield Plush is number 17. I went to help desk, not to say anything, but I was just going to assume somebody from Garfield Plush was going to be like, what the heck, we're the number 16 seed, how come we're not in top cut? It's because Mission Instinct was the number 4 seed. Now, again, why don't you do seeding for Swiss? There's a very simple reason for that. One, for low-level tournaments, there's not really enough information on teams to give them a proper seed. Number 2, Battlefy, if you seed your Swiss, Battlefy does it for 1 round. In round 2, the number 1 and number 2 seed can play against each other. Battlefy does not give a crap about your seed after the first round. So you can put a lot of effort into actually seeding every single team that signs up for your tournament for Swiss. But you're putting all that effort just so that round 1 is kind of balanced. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's a Battlefy issue 100%. It's not a TO issue at all. It happened to us in SAC, tournament number 4. In round 1 we played some team. I think we played Mahi Masoon round 1, and then round 2 we played Sea Boys, who was the number 1 seed. And we were like number 5 in that tournament. And SAC actually does seeding for like their top half of the teams that play in their tournament. So it's like, you shouldn't have number 1 and number 5 playing in round 2. And then in round 3, after we lost the Sea Boys 2-1, we played Rising Matrix, who was 2-0. So like we got double battle-fied. We got fed the number 1 seed in round 2, and we were the only team that was 1-1 that was still playing a team 2-0 in round 3. So Battlefy is just, a lot of the times you guys get upset about things that are completely out of TO's control. It happens. Battlefy is like that. But at the end of the day, the only people who complain about tiebreakers are losers. That is a fact. And no, not a loser like you live in your basement of your parents' house. Loser is in you lost too many games. And I'm not calling out anybody because I didn't see anybody publicly complain about this. But if you were that number 17 seed and you lost, or you didn't make top cut, if you literally just won one more game, those matches that go 2-1, if you had found a way to make that 3-0, or if you found a way to take just one game off of another team and lose 1-2 instead of 3-0, that's the difference here. So if you want to avoid tiebreakers, there's an easy fix for all of this. Win your games, forehead. Now, I mean, obviously it's not easy to just win games, but still, only losers complain about tiebreakers. Again, I didn't see anybody complain about it, but just going forward, just realize if you're going to be one of those teams that complains about tiebreakers, the reason you're complaining about it, you're a loser. Accept it. That's why I don't complain about tiebreakers. Because in certain situations, I might be a loser. Matches of note, only got 2. Evening Chickens played Aqua Affinity. Aqua Affinity won this one 2-1. Why am I putting out this match? This is the only time Aqua Affinity dropped a single game in Swiss. Their personal win percentage, 94.44%, very high. And it looked like Aqua Affinity was just going to dominate this entire tournament. I believe they finished in 4th place in top cut, maybe 3rd. I'll have to go back and look at it right now. But still, regardless, this was round 6, and these were 2 teams coming in undefeated. It seemed like a really good matchup. In fact, that it went 2-1 is promising. And again, the only team to take one game off of Aqua Affinity, the Evening Chickens. I don't talk about Aqua Affinity enough, I feel like, because they are going to be a really... I feel like their days in low ink are going to be numbered. If depending on what div they get, because they're a really strong, solid team. They just can't close out games in Top Cut like you would expect them to do. Some teams are really good at Swiss and not Top Cut. Some teams are they just got to survive Swiss and get the Top Cut, and that's when they turn on the jets. But Aqua Affinity at least looks like to be one of the best Swiss group stage tournaments we have in low level. Just for whatever reason, they just can't get it done when it matters the most. 60% Fish Puns beat Inkcraft Cult 2-1. Why am I pointing this game out? Well, I listened to the Moray Taverns podcast, and it's interesting enough that a lot of the teams that Smash interviewed played against in this Minnow Cup. They also played against System of a Splashdown in a critical round 5, where the winner went on to be 2-3 with an opportunity to go 3-3 and make a top cut, because you could go 3-3 and make top cut in this tournament. So but the game earlier, 2-1, 60% Fish Puns over the Inkcraft Cult. Seemed like a close matchup, and you want to kind of catch some of these other matchups that you don't get to talk about too often. Those are the only 2 matches of note for me. Those are the only 2 I thought were notable to bring up. I mean, there's some winners. We'll talk a little bit more about Swiss, but a problem with this tournament, not a problem, but a thing to note about this tournament is there's a lot of pickup teams here. Like a lot of pickup teams. You got teams like assembled separately, Gay Ming, Rinaldi and Klein Authentic New York Excavation. I slightly Googled that and realized this might be a mistake. I should have just stopped right here. Garfield Plush. I believe the Wombles was a pickup team from JCam, and just so many of these teams were pickups, which makes sense. The tournament got moved, obviously, so not everybody on your team is going to be available to play on a Friday afternoon in North America. So it's just more of who's available to play and not. So, but because of that, it's hard to kind of gauge what are interesting matches, who got nice wins. It's hard to, honestly, it's hard to kind of look in and see like where all these players are actually from. Like, I do have access with Low Ink to kind of search for some players, but sometimes you can't always find exact information on those kinds of things. So didn't really know where to go with that. Regardless, my winners from the Swiss stage of actual legit teams. Gaming might be an actual team. Side note, I saw Thimble IHOP 1 refresh down. And then I was like, well, that's... what? So I looked at it and only like 5 teams played in it, and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But then you combine that with the fact that Thimble IHOP had arguably the best speed ladder tournament on Saturday. It's like, oh, okay, that refresh down wins starting to look a little bit sexier than what initially it appeared to be. I'm getting off track. Winners from the Minnow Cup Swiss round. Give me 3 a.m. These guys went 4-2 with key wins against Access Denied and Enigma. Notable because they went 2-4 last weekend in Low Ink. This is the team that Nova is on. Nova is the player that won Launch Point Draft Cup with Flank Me Harder. Now again, Low Ink is not the equivalent of Minnow Cup. Minnow Cup is one mode only. Low Ink is all in the modes. But the Dragon Dynasty wave went 2-4 last month in Low Ink. Ended up in grand finals, arguably, in this upcoming Low Ink. So maybe 3 a.m. the next Dynasty Dragon waves. Hope not, because I hope we can actually have a Low Ink where everybody plays in it without dropping. Kraken Warriors went 4-2 with key wins against Mission Instinct, which has become a good team to beat all of a sudden, and the Casually Dynamic Squids. It's good to see CDS is still playing. That wasn't just a one-time thing. This might be a project, and it might be an actual team going forward. It seems like the Kraken Warriors, this is their tournament. They seem to be consistently making top 8, like winning the first round of Top Cut and qualifying for Top Cut every single time. So the Kraken Warriors seem to do a lot better in these tournament-specific modes than they have been doing in Low Ink recently. So whatever it is, with focusing on maybe just one mode mindset really helps these guys out. Nightmares went 5-1 with key wins against Riot, Garfield, Plush. I have no idea who they are, but they played in the February Low Ink, and it wasn't with the Nightmare team, and I couldn't find specifically who these guys were. If somebody knows, because the team a team name like Nightmares, that doesn't sound like a pickup team name. It's not stupid enough to be a pickup team name. So this might be an actual legit team going forward. I'll keep an eye out for them in the future, but going 5-1 here is definitely notable. The pickup team assembled separately went 4-2 with key wins against Riot, Mission Instinct, and the Kraken Warriors. The team players that made up this team come from Spirit Incorporated, Squid Society, and Dream Knights. I could actually find those players pretty quickly. So assembled separately is a notable pickup team in this tournament. Not the most notable one, but definitely a one I wanted to point out. The last team I want to give a winner roll here to is Riot, who went 4-2, key wins against the Geek Squids, and Tonkin made Alpha Bracket in Low Ink. Keep an eye out for these guys in the future. They've revamped their roster recently from where I believe they went 3-3 in February's Low Ink. They made Top Cut last time. They made Top Cut here in Minnow Cup. So Riot's going to be they're going to be a top 10 Low Ink contender soon, TM, with how they've been playing recently. Top cuts of this tournament. And then we'll call it a day. Does that sound good? Again, it's all best of 3 until grand finals. And the only thing I really want to talk about here is grand finals, which was Resilience versus, and excuse me for mispronouncing this, as Hora de Comer. I'm just going to call them Comer going forward, unless I'm pronouncing the word Comer wrong. I didn't get what this reference was. Lucky for me, this is why we added Haya to our roster on Destiny Troops. The 15-year-old, literally half my age, can explain a lot of things to me. And this is apparently a meme that is not funny or relevant at all. So there you go. That's what I learned about that. I wish I didn't know what that actually was. But now, this team is literally Battleship, which is literally night surfing. It's the same doggone thing. The only difference is they had 1/2 of 3/4, which I don't know why they call themselves that. It should just be, their IGN should just be 0.375, but of synergy. Play for them. If you have on your roster, if 4 players are playing in the match, if 3 of them are on your original team and 1 of them is a sub, guess what? That's your team. That's night surfing. If you have 2 players from your original team and 2 are subs, then you're a pickup, in my opinion. But if you got 3 with just 1 additional sub, don't change your name to something stupid like Es Hora de Comer. Just go by Night Surfing or Battle Chip or whatever your team name is for the week that you're coming up with here. Teams that keep changing their name every other weekend, that makes it so difficult to see them as TL. Teams sometimes get screwed over by doing this though. Like legit, like Ludi staff might look at this and be like, "Oh, I don't know who this team is," and they didn't sign up for Ludi, and not give them credit for winning it when really it should be that. I digress. They won this tournament. One thing I want to point out though, a little bit of interesting controversy that I noticed, and something that is significant enough to where I wanted to talk about it. In Game 1 of Grand Finals, a player for Comer DCs. They subbed that player out, and during the replay, a player on Comer changed their weapon, I believe from K-Pro to K-Shot. Resilience called them out on this, and Resilience got the win. I want to point this out, not to throw shade at anybody, but I've seen this happen before, and I want to have a slight conversation about this. First off, we were in SAC finals, and we were playing, I'm not going to say who we were playing against, but they DC'd, and they subbed the player out. And I said in the Battlefight chat, we should be allowed to change our weapons, right? And SAC told us, no, it's in the rules that you have to stick with the weapon you get. If you sub a player out for a DCing player, you should be allowed to change your weapons, in my opinion. The problem with that is the guy who's subbing in, they can pick whatever weapon they want, and they know exactly what the opponent's weapons are going to be. So the fact that they know what we're going to do and we have no idea what they're going to do, that's not fair. That's almost like giving you a reward for DC. Like, you could, in theory, you could tactically do that. You could say, hey, you're not going to play. So you come in, you pull your Ethernet cord so we know what weapons they're going to use. We're going to bring in our sub and have him pick the weapon based off of what the opponent has. In theory, you could do that. So the rules, in my opinion, across the board for every tournament we do should say if you sub out a DCing player, both teams should be allowed to switch their weapons. However, if the rules do not say that, if the rules say if you DC, the sub coming in can do whatever, but everyone else has to stay with their weapons, and you don't read that, that is 100% on the player not recognizing that. So yes, Comer should have taken the L, as they did, because by the letter of the rules, which they clearly did not read, they cheated. Is it an intentional cheat? No. Is it something significant though? Yes, because it is in the rules. I'm telling you guys, if you read the rules, it will save your life in a lot of these tournaments. And it's frustrating because I could probably guess that a good chunk of you played in Speed Ladder, and a lot of teams counterpicked maps against you that were illegal maps, and you either called out that other team for it or you didn't. But if you didn't, guess what? They're going to go into the next set and they're going to cheat again. Not intentionally, but they're going to keep picking those maps until you call them out for it. And somebody else would call them out in Comer and said, you guys did this earlier. You can't call them out after the fact. You got to do it right at the moment. So is it a dumb rule? Yes. Is it still a rule that teams don't understand because they don't read the actual rules? Yes, and that's why I'm pointing it out. This is a warning to everybody. Read the frickin' rules of tournaments that you're playing in, and if you break the rule, don't argue about it. It's your fault for not reading it, dummies. I digress. Other than that, Comer dominated dominated the top cut here and won the whole tournament. Interestingly enough, because they lost Resilience earlier in the tournament on Swiss on stream, and Comer was able to come back here and play much better than what they did against Resilience. I don't know if they had a different player play in the Swiss matchup versus the Top Cut matchup. I didn't look that closely into the actual matches. Obviously, the information is out there, but still, Comer came in strong and was the only team to outright beat Aqua Affinity. Now I'm looking at Aqua Affinity did win the third place match 3-0. So Comer, the only team to beat Aqua Affinity, who only lost 3 games the entire tournament. Very impressive for them. But still, what does this mean for both teams going forward? Obviously for Comer, Battle Chip or Night Surfing, whatever you want to call them, they made third in the Rainmaker month. They've made top cut in every low ink they play in. This team will be a top 3 team, I feel like, for this next low ink. I feel like they are definitely a contender, not just to win it, but to be a comfortable, pencil them in for like winner semifinals going forward kind of team. Because they're a team that's proven that they are good in both Swiss and bracket stage of tournaments, which is a rare combination to have nowadays. So the Battle Comer surfing team. Keep an eye out for them in the future. I think their days in low ink are going to be limited as well. For resilience, I was telling you guys, they needed a little bit more time in the oven. And now they got a second place finish here in Minnow Cup. Combine that with the fourth place finish they got in low ink, or if you want to look at it from a different perspective, they finished as second alternate to grand finals. Resilience looking really good right now. They're looking really good right now. And by the time the next low ink rolls around, they might be it. I think they might be it. They just need, they're about ready to come out of that oven, and we can all feast on the cake that they become. Regardless, that's for something to see in the future. Next week, we're going to be talking about Little Squid League. And I believe the week after that, we're going to be talking about Looty Divs that are going to be coming out soon, TM, I would assume. Make sure you sign up for Looty if you want to participate in it. If you don't, good for you. Life is, hope you're enjoying life, however it is. Let's raid fish. I don't have time to look for somebody crazy new, and fish is always safe. If you'd like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, if you're a TO, you have some hot takes you want to give out. If you're a team and you want to be interviewed, I do have some teams lined up that I need to get on when I have a right opportunity to bring them on to talk about things. You just want to reach out to me. Don't DM me to say GGs, though. That's the easy way to get not blocked, but muted. I stop GGing me. I don't care. Some people like being GG'd, some don't. Consider me into the I don't like being GG'd category. Take that for what you will. You can reach me on Twitter, Mr_Popgun, Discord at Popgun, hashtag 5882, YouTube at 25Popgun. Twitch at Popgun25. We're gonna raid fish. Make sure you keep wearing a mask. If you're I believe vaccinations are becoming available for most people now in the state. Make sure you go do that when the opportunity is yours. Stay alive. It's a very important thing to do.